Let me ask you a question, brothers. If tomorrow you lost your job, your income, your status, who are you going to be? Who will you be without all those things? Will your friends still respect you? Will your woman still look at you with admiration? Or will everything collapse like a house of cards? This is a crisis that most modern men face. Society has reduced masculinity to a single metric, your net worth. In Kenya, the common phrase we hear young men being told is vijana tafuteni pesa. Okay? You are what you earn. That's what you're told. And this is not accidental. After the 2008 financial crisis, when the global economy collapsed, men bore the brunt of layoffs in industries like construction and manufacturing. Okay? This has been documented in a book called The China Syndrome, Local Labor Market Effects of Import Competition in the US by Don and Hanson in 2013. Since this 2008 crisis, financial identity has become a weaponized measuring stick. And it has been accelerated by the social media's endless flexing of consumer culture. Okay, a 2022 research that is titled "The Association Between Men's Mental Health During COVID-19 and Deterioration in Economic Status" it underscores one painful truth. That is, it's tying masculinity to economic performance is brittle and it's also damaging. As men lost their jobs or faced economic instability, their mental health also deteriorated. Not necessarily because of income loss per se, but because of the income loss threatened their identity as providers. Okay, it triggers anxiety. Many men went through emotional dysregulation and identity crisis. Relationship breakdowns and divorce rates are often correlated with economic pressure, but also with symbolic rupture, men losing their perceived status and purpose within the family unit. So this financial facade, we want to define it. As you go through Instagram, everyone seems to be living better than you. Bigger houses, faster cars, better vacations. And yet, much of it is smoke and mirrors. Research shows that social media use correlates strongly with depression and anxiety, especially among men who feel they are falling behind financially. There's a research called Trends in Mood and Anxiety Symptoms and Suicide-Related Outcomes among US undergraduates, which supports this particular claim. What is the cost of this? The cost is that men are tying their self-worth to their net worth, and that's a dangerous game because money is volatile. You lose it, and you risk losing not just your assets, but your sense of self. And that's why we want to have this discussion. We want to start by looking at the transactional nature of modern relationships. Let's just be blunt. Modern relationships are increasingly transactional. Hypergamy is real. Studies show that women are more likely to leave a relationship when the man loses his financial footing. This is documented in a research called Money, Work, and Marital Stability by Kielewald in 2016. We normally say in the red pill community that hypergamy never sleeps. Okay? But this is not to mean that women are necessarily bad, because women need to look for providers so that they can raise their children in a secure and stable environment. But divorce courts also confirm this, because men are disproportionately losing assets, children, and future income through alimony and child support. In the US, the average cost of divorce ranges from between $15,000 and $20,000. But the real cost is much, much higher. It's not just about money. Men lose wealth accumulation that they have accumulated for decades, okay, post-divorce. This is documented in a paper called Marriage and Divorce Impact on Wealth by Zagorski, 2015. So when the society tells you that you just earn more and you'll be secure, the way you are told, hauna tafuteni pesa. Remember this, money alone doesn't buy you loyalty. It buys you temporary compliance. Remember Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, the richest men in the world, their wives still divorced them. Okay? So money buys you temporary compliance. In many cases, it also buys the women leverage and it incentivizes them to actually divorce because they split half of your wealth. So as men, we have to look at ourselves. What are you beyond a provider? Okay? What are you without your money? What are you without your status? What is a man? So, as men, you need to appreciate who you are so that you don't sink into depression when you lose your job or your source of income. The first thing is research proves that fathers bring irreplaceable non financial value to their families. And one of the values is leadership and order. Men generally enforce rules, we enforce structure and responsibility. Okay? There's an author called Lamb who wrote a book called The Role of the Father in Child Development. And it shows that fathers' parenting emphasizes this discipline and goal setting. I remember there was a time I was taking my daughter for her birthday, and her friends were in the car. And the mother was there. The girls were giggling. The car was full. I think we had around probably 5 or 6 girls. They were giggling, making a lot of noise. And the mother was there. Of course, I was into the car. So when I got into the car, I heard the mother asking the girls, "Why are you quiet?" So this can tell you that even children know and they have some sense of reverence towards the presence of a father. Uh, it makes them sort of become, it fills them with sanctity. So this makes it possible for fathers to enforce rules, structure, and responsibility. The second thing that fathers bring outside of money is security and protection. A father's presence reduces chances of abuse, crime, and neglect. Children in father present homes face lower risks of harm. We have risks like abuse from caregivers, sexual predators, and so on. They are much more reduced when there is a present father within the family or within the household. This has been documented in a book called Father Facts by Horn and Sylvester. The third thing that the third value that fathers provide is guidance and mentorship. Fathers actually model resilience, competence, and masculine identity. This has been documented in a book called Life Without Father by Popno. He calls fathers a blueprint for manhood. This is very important. We normally say that boys normally get their identity from their fathers. Children actually observe what you do and what you are much more than what you tell them. So guidance and mentorship is provided by fathers, particularly to the boys. And then there's also psychological stability that men and fathers provide. A father's involvement builds children's confidence and reduces behavioral problems. Okay? Amato and Gilbert documented this in a book called Non-Resident Fathers and Children's Well-Being. So fathers provide psychological stability. And it is important for men to realize that they have greater value beyond just the money or the provisioning. What happens when fathers or men disappear? Okay? Research has been done and the numbers are brutal. So crime and delinquency, first of all, is going to shoot up. 85% of youth in prison come from fatherless homes. This is data from the US Department of Justice 2010. And 71% of children who are dropouts are actually fatherless. National Center of Fathering provides us with this information. Children in single mother homes are 5 times more likely to live in poverty. This is from the US Census Bureau. I'm of course aware that if you look at a multivariate analysis of this kind of information, it's more than just the father present, because sometimes provisioning also links to availability of food, shelter, school fees, and so on. So there is that, but there's also the aspect that I've mentioned about stability, about order, about discipline. Mental health. Father absence is also linked with higher depression, higher drug use, and suicidal behavior in teens. Okay, this was established by Ellis et al. In a paper called "Does Father Absence Place Daughters at Special Risk for Early Sexual Activity and Teenage Pregnancy?" So when it comes to teen pregnancy, also the absence of a father influences it a lot. Okay, girls without fathers are 7 times more likely to become teen mothers. This is documented in Family Relationships and Adolescent Pregnancy Risk by Miller, Benson, and Galbraith. There have also been arguments that some men are actually better fathers, but this is debatable. So the research we have, it doesn't show that men are necessarily better parents, but they parent differently. And that difference is quite essential. Fathers normally emphasize risk taking, independence, and accountability, while mothers emphasize comfort and expression. This is in Fathers and Families, a very nice book. There is also the aspect when fathers come to play with the children, the way they engage them. The rough and tumble play teaches self regulation, competitiveness, and resilience. This is documented in a book called Theorizing the Father and Child Relationship by Paquette. So we have normally seen that issue of fathers throwing the child up and the mother worrying that the child can be hurt. Um, Anxiety is a governing emotion when you look at how women parent children. But fathers parent children with the mindset that the child is going to be okay and the child needs to be exposed to risk because the child can actually manage themselves. They'll do well. Fathers also challenge children to push boundaries, building confidence and problem solving skills. So, this is very important for child development and very indispensable in ways that cannot be measured or replicated by women. What happens when you don't have societies without fathers? Because there have been women and feminists who say that they need a man as much as a fish needs bicycle. Without fathers, the first thing you're going to have is crime and a breakdown of order in the society. Communities that suffer from fatherlessness, they face higher crime and gang culture. This is documented by Harper and McLahan in a book called Father Absence and Youth Incarceration. There is also going to be a weaker cohesion within the society and within family. Without fathers, chaos grows. This is in a book called Crime in the Making, and this is called Social Disorganization. So, without fathers, we are going to have social disorganization. There'll be chaos within the community. And there's also distorted masculinity. I think you've seen this. Uh, Boys who grow up with single mothers, a number of times they seek identity from wrong people, from gangs, from their misguided peers, or from the media, which breeds toxic, unstable versions of manhood. This is documented by Wilcox in a book called When Marriage Disappears. So it's very important for boys to get their identity from the fathers, and that's why present fatherhood is very, very important. Warren Farrell, who is one of the best experts on masculinity and the boy child, he writes in his book, The Boy Crisis, boys are hurt the most when dads are needed most. So, now that we've established that men are more than just their paycheck, how can we redefine true value of masculinity? How do men remain relevant in the society? The way you do this, gentlemen, is by building value beyond the paycheck. So the first thing is having skills and mastery. I've always been saying that you need to master one skill to world class level. You do this by building value beyond the paycheck. So some of the things you can do is sharpening your craft. In the book Deep Work by Cal Newport, he calls mastery the foundation of true success. You must master one thing. And I encourage guys to read that book, Cal Newport, Deep Work. Contribution and impact. Viktor Frankl, in the book Man's Search for Meaning, he says that man's deepest drive is meaning, not money. So I normally tell guys the unexamined life is not worth living. You need to examine your life. Okay, and this can take different trajectories. But the important thing is you need to find what your purpose is. Men are normally able to bring aspects of leadership, patriotism, and standing up against exploitation. So you need to be able to contribute and impact the society. Find your mission and hold your position in this particular universe. Make a dent in the universe. Thirdly, for men, you need to build resilience and character. Nietzsche reminds us that he who has a why can bear almost anyhow. Most guys who get depressed when they run into adversities because they don't have a big why. When you have a big why, when you have a big purpose, it helps you to overcome difficult times. So it's very, very important to have a big why so that you build your resilience and character around that. Now, for guys, it is very important that you cultivate a rich inner world. How do you do this? Because wealth is not only external, it is also internal. Um, in the book As a Man Thinketh, okay, he says that the inner garment determines the outer garment. So you need to enrich yourself inside. Many times, people who get depressed when they lose material things, it is because they have the poverty inside, the internal poverty. So how do you get rid of this? The first thing is you need to become intellectually curious. Develop intellectual curiosity. Read widely, debate, sharpen your mind, reflect. A thinking man is harder to control, and a thinking man is much, much more is difficult to get depressed because he's a man who is a problem solver and is a man who can think outside the box. So this is something you need to arm yourself with. Always be curious intellectually. The second thing is you need to have emotional intelligence. True masculine identity is composure and persuasive strength. This was said by Goldman in Emotional Intelligence. So composure and persuasive strength. So when the women and the children are crying, the man is supposed to be there, composed, being able to take things under control. You must have emotional intelligence. Don't blow up, don't have a meltdown. You must have your emotions in check. The third thing, of course, is about physical and mental health. Strength and stamina are your first fortress. You need to be strong. You need to make the people around you feel safe by exuding strength. Have command presence. Don't be someone who is so fragile that even people are afraid to tell you the truth because they are afraid you're going to collapse and die. Okay? Discipline cannot be bought. So fast, lift weights, make sure you have a regimen of exercise, regular exercise in your life. So what we are going to do is, how do we live this out? The first thing is invest your time wisely. Build, build instead of just binge scrolling. You need to train, you need to learn, you need to create. Build a business, write a book, start a project, build a house. Okay? A man is a builder, and this is what you need to do. Invest your time wisely. Don't spend all the time watching spectator sports or scrolling through TikTok. Secondly, seek a brotherhood. Iron sharpens iron. Men need men. Surround yourself with men who embody holistic success. Okay? And also challenge the narrative. This narrative that men are only worth the paychecks. We should reject that lie. Don't allow anyone to define you based on your money. Reject the lie that money defines your manhood. So think about leaving a mark. Because at the end of it all, money fades. But your presence, your story, your journey, your principles echo for generations to come. Okay? None of us knows how rich Albert Einstein was, but you know what he did. We know what he is responsible for. Charles Darwin, we know what he did. We don't know how rich he was. So what is going to define your legacy is not going to be money. It's going to be your impact on the world. So your scars and victories inspire more than your possessions ever could. And this is the same way you're supposed to parent your children. You don't look at them like they'll be impressed by how rich you are, but your journey, the kind of scars you hold, how you conduct yourself, the kind of example you set. That is what is going to inspire your children. And also engage in mentorship. Okay? Guide younger men so that they have a broader definition of success. Don't allow young men also to buy this societal dilution of masculinity, that masculinity is money. We are not supposed to be treated like utilities. A man is much more than an ATM. And also come up with ideas of how to define your own reach. Decide for yourself whether it is freedom, whether it is mastery, whether it is brotherhood, whether it is legacy, whether it is wealth, and so on. Okay? Come up with something that no cash can erase. That is what is going to be your wealth. Don't allow your wealth to be something so fragile that a financial breakdown can wipe it away. So in closing, I'm going to leave you with one thought. Stop letting society put a price tag on your masculinity. Stop selling yourself cheap. True wealth is not in your wallet. It is in your skills, it is in your discipline, your character, and your legacy. As Rollo Tomasi, the godfather of masculinity, says, men must become. And becoming isn't about stacking dollars or money. It's about becoming unshakable. I normally tell the young men that I mentor that women are human beings, but men are human doings. I'll see you on the next one.